Breaking news, the president said today he interviewed 4 candidates this morning for a position that will shape the court and the country for decades. And this evening, sources tell CNN those 4 candidates are Amy Coney Barrett, Brett Kavanaugh, Raymond Kethledge, and Amol Thapar. Joining me now, CNN political commentator, former Republican Congressman Charlie Dent of Pennsylvania, and also just on the phone now, CNN legal analyst and Supreme Court biographer Joan Piskupic. And Joan, we just found out the 4 names of the people the president spoke with today. The names are not surprising insofar as they were on all of the short lists, but Amy Coney Barrett, Brett Kavanaugh, Raymond Kethledge, Amol Thapar, what jumps out to you?
Well, first of all, they're all young. They're people who are already on U.S. courts of appeals. In fact, 2 of them are individuals who President Trump named himself. Judge Barrett is 46. She's one of the youngest on the list, and President Trump chose her for the Chicago-based 7th Circuit Court of Appeals just last September. John, she's a former law clerk to Justice Antonin Scalia. She had been a law professor at Notre Dame, her alma mater. She was narrowly confirmed by the Senate by a vote of 55 to 43 last October, and only 3 Democrats supported her. One other point on her, John, is that some Democratic lawmakers expressed doubts that she would uphold Roe, and she got into kind of a conflict with Senator Dianne Feinstein about some of her religious writings. So there could be a flashpoint there if she's the nominee. The other one that I will mention right off the bat is Judge Brett Kavanaugh, who's 53 and sits on the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit. Now, he's someone who was put on the appeals court here in Washington by George W. Bush. But he's a former law clerk to Justice Anthony Kennedy, so we'd have a nice, passing the baton from the man who's leaving the bench. And then real quickly, just so the audience knows the others, Amol Thapar is another individual who President Trump named already to the 6th Circuit Court of Appeals. He's actually a favorite of Mitch McConnell. He's from Kentucky. He's 49. He went to Berkeley Law School. And then finally, Raymond Kethledge, 51. He's also a President W. Bush appointee.
In my understanding, and Joan, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm going to bring the conversation over to Charlie now, is that there is every reason to believe that those 4 judges, as with the other 21 on the list of 25 we've seen from the Federalist Society and others, all of them oppose abortion rights and would, in theory, work to roll back parts of Roe versus Wade. So, Congressman Dent, I'm going to bring you into this conversation right now. The president says he's not asking about Roe when he meets with these people, but the fact is he doesn't have to ask, does he?
No, he doesn't. We've always gone through this pretense from presidents of both parties that there should be no litmus test, when in fact we know there are. And that's unfortunate. I mean, it's really a sad day, I think, that in this country that the selection of a Supreme Court nomination really comes down to this one issue of abortion. People have strongly held opinions. Too bad we can't find more people like Sandra Day O'Connor and Anthony Kennedy, people who aren't completely predictable on the court, and I think serve this nation extraordinarily well. Now it seems that on both sides we want judges justices who will be predictable and frankly very ideological.
Senator Collins, Senator Murkowski are 2, in theory, Republicans in the Senate who support abortion rights, don't want to overturn Roe versus Wade. Susan Collins has said she would not support someone who is openly hostile to Roe there. Do you think she'll take a stand here?
Well, I know Susan Collins very well. She's very tough, and she has strongly held views. And I saw her on health care when the bill went too far in the Senate as well as the House. She pushed back, and she's not afraid to stand up. And she is pro-choice, to be sure, and she has a very strong voting record in support of women's reproductive rights.
Critics will say that she did on taxes, though. On taxes, though, she was promised something. She voted ultimately for the tax cut. It was never delivered, so she, to an extent, was pushed around a bit on that vote. It does seem here she's getting assurances, this isn't about Roe versus Wade, but again, all 25 people on that list seem pretty committed.
Yeah, those SGR payments at the time were a very big issue, but at the moment the tax credits are sufficient, so it's less of an issue. Yeah, you're right. I don't think she was treated as fairly as she should have been, given her vote. But the point is, I think that the market is more or less stabilized since that time. But don't count her out. She's going to do what she's she's not afraid to go against the tide.
I will note, again, we just read that list of the 4 judges that were interviewed by the president today. Amy Coney Barrett is on that list of people the president has already spoken with. Joan Larson, another name. 2 women the president said he's speaking to. How do you think, if he nominated a woman, that would affect the dynamic in the confirmation process?
Well, oftentimes those who support abortion rights will say that those who oppose abortion rights are, somehow anti-woman. So it's harder to do that when a woman is nominated, particularly one who may be well qualified, but may be, pro-life or anti-choice, depending on your perspective. So I think it's really harder to demonize a woman nominee based on that one issue. So I think if the president were playing smart politics here, he would probably nominate a woman just to try to mitigate some of the damage on the abortion issue.
As I let you go, Congressman Dent, I just want to remind people that more than 6 in 10 voters agree with the Roe versus Wade decision on abortion. However, a majority of Republicans disagree.